So what we're going to do now is we're also going to fly without a net. I'm going to invite up a good friend of mine who is definitely one of the smartest marketers that's ever lived. Brilliant guy, brilliant business and marketing guy. Currently, what do you charge, 20 grand a day for consulting? Yeah, he charges $20,000 a day for consulting, and you can't hire him because he's booked up too far in advance. Just amazing guy. And what he's going to do is he's going to come up here, and together we are going to do some critiques of the submissions that came in. And we're going to talk about some marketing ideas and copy and so forth. So please give a warm welcome to my good friend Joe Polish.
Check out the...
You like that?
Yeah, we're going to actually, we're going to put that in my office. Hello, Evan.
How you doing?
Howdy, everyone. What do you think?
That's good.
Sexy time. All right.
Sexy time.
Do I get to sit on the sofa here? And
yeah, a little closer, please.
Yeah, all right.
So will you talk for a little bit? You taught me a technique, and this is one of the kind of things that you've developed that we haven't really talked about here. And I thought if you'd be willing to share it, just kind of address it. There's a way to make a lot more money, probably, in your business. And it's a way that isn't about advertising. And it's not about getting more customers. And in fact, this way of making more money with your business can be far more profitable than advertising or getting more customers. And it's a technique that we used after I learned it from Joe and did very well for us. And the technique is figuring out how to get your products to stick better. And when we say stick, what we mean is get people that buy them to use them, enjoy them more, so that they don't stick it on a shelf and go, why did I buy that, and then ask for a refund. Okay? Stick. So you want to talk just a little bit about this idea?
Yeah, let me give it some context, though, because my company's called Piranha Marketing. Basically, what I do is I sell information products predominantly to niche universes, the largest being carpet and upholstery cleaners. That's where I started, and people ask me, how'd you get into that? And I used to be a carpet cleaner. Back in 1990, 1992, I basically lived off credit cards. I was trying to run a business. I was really practicing working. I really wasn't working because until you make money, you don't really...
Who here has ever lived off credit cards while practicing working and trying to grow a business? Wow, look at that.
Yeah. So I learned direct response marketing, which, how many of you know what direct response means? How many of you do not know what that term means? Okay. Kind of the quick definition just for time purposes. Anything that you do in terms of putting a message out there that is designed to get a response back. You know, image advertising, institutional advertising, which is terms you'll hear in college. You'll hear them from, a lot of marketers talk about those terms. It's basically designed to get your name out there, create name recognition, whereas direct response is designed to get a response, to get people to actually respond to any message that you're putting out there. So when it comes to being a marketer, it's basically the list, who it is you're communicating to, and what it is that you're communicating to them. So in the world of carpet cleaning, people say, well, how am I going to learn anything from you? I sell to doctors, or I'm not in the service business. Well, I teach people, because I used to be one of them, how to actually sell a service that nobody wants to buy. I mean, has anyone here ever looked forward to like hiring a carpet cleaner or getting your oil changed? Which Noah?
Yes.
I know, Noah's into that, but no, but seriously, it's like, he's a great person to have up here too, Noah.
I told you.
I want you to come to my event just so I can like do this the whole time. No, but see, the things with carpet cleaners, they're not predominantly very sophisticated business people. I certainly wasn't. I actually failed owning and operating a small business in college. It's true. And
surprise.
Yeah. Well, but basically, I needed to come up with a way to actually market and promote my services. So I learned marketing, never thinking that I would teach seminars or do books or any of those things. So anyway, to answer your question, in my world of selling information products, it's a finite universe. It's small. I'm a big fish in a little pond. And so I needed to develop relationships. So the real thing that all of us need to do as business owners, if we're going to have anything in terms of lifetime value, to use that term, with any group of people is you have to bond with them. So write bond down. Bonding with your clients or with a group of people is critical. And you want to be in the relationship business, not the transaction business. And most business owners are going to be transaction marketers. They're going to sell something, then they're going to figure out how to find more people that they could sell something to, versus bonding with somebody and establishing a relationship with it. And one distinction I want to make is the difference between selling and marketing. And I'll talk a little bit, if we have time, about a definition of selling that I really like. But selling is what you do when you're on the phone or face-to-face with somebody. How many of you in the room sell every day as a form of making money? How many of you do not consider yourself salespeople? All right, how many of you are just killer salespeople? You put yourself in front of an ideal prospect, you will get money out of that person. Okay. Well, all entrepreneurs, the first goal we need to have is to go and get checks. To get checks. I mean, figuring out how to actually get checks from people. So you have to sell at some point. So
we try to get credit cards more than checks these days.
Same thing. I mean it in the same way, though.
Oh.
Yeah, extract
What
money.
about cash?
Okay, so selling is what you do when you're on the phone or face-to-face with somebody. Marketing is what you do to get somebody on the phone or face-to-face with you properly positioned so that they have this 4 criteria, which I'd recommend you write down. They're pre-interested. Second is they're pre-qualified. Third is they're pre-motivated. And the fourth is predisposed to do business with you. Pre-interested, pre-motivated, pre-qualified, predisposed. Doesn't matter what order they're in. It's just that's the criteria of someone that you want to speak with. Dean Jackson, when he was up here talking about the importance of the positioning, I don't think he used the term positioning, but the point is it's like getting a well-qualified prospect is critical. What did Wyatt say? One of the first things that Wyatt said up here about, and you repeated it, what was that statement?
He said that pre-selection will always beat training.
Exactly, okay. So pre-selecting who it is you want to sell to and have the positioning to where they want to buy from you versus you trying to sell them is how you actually set it up. And I kind of figured out a lot of that by accident. Instead of doing one-step selling, which is what so many business people do, you actually do multi-sequence selling. You do things like have people request information that you send to them online or offline, or call a 24-hour free recorded message, which is a real simple technique. One of the things that, I'd like to just give them some techniques too, and just show some of the stuff.
You guys don't want any money-making techniques,
Explain
right?
it in the way you would, and then I'll show you some of the different ways I've taught people how to do it. And how, because I can give you all, we've got a very limited amount of time, and I'm like really high ADD, and I can babble about like anything and go off on tangents. So at least I'd like to give you something that's worth at least maybe 50 to 100 times more than what you invested to come here. I think then everyone would be happy with that.
How about let's take one of those? That sounds good.
Okay. So let me just show you some examples.
You got the stick example?
I've got different products with stickers on them. Let's talk about how you did it. You want me to explain the concept first?
No, you explain it. I want to talk
about
how
many of you
did it.
sell information products in here? Okay.
Whoa, I didn't think to ask that. Let's try that again. Who sells an information product that's here? Wow, that is very interesting. I had no idea.
Now,
who does not sell an information product at all? Probably half and half.
Okay. Well, one thing that I'd recommend too, if you're not in the information business, you want to utilize information to assist you in selling whatever it is that you actually sell. Really, all of us, if we're going to educate clients or tell them anything about what it is we do and how we do it in order to educate them, interest them in our products, our services, our experiences, you're in the information business. You have to be, because how else do you communicate something as to why someone would want to buy if you don't do it in the form of information? It's about uniquely packaging your message so it's an information product. So for those of you in the information business world, this will obviously, you'll get this real easily. Those of you that are not, think about different ways you can use it. Going back to 1994, I sold one of my first marketing strategies to a carpet cleaner. And this was a guy that I had met at a trade convention. I still would go to all these trade shows. Any industry, any niche has trade shows and magazines and various things where people in those businesses get information. And I met this guy named Don DeLue in Denver, Colorado at the PCUCA convention, something that is much more exciting than Altitude. It's the Professional Carpet and Upholstery Cleaners Association.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, it's amazing.
Sounds fascinating.
But anyway, so I'm sitting there in this seminar, and this speaker was saying, you know, what all of you carpet cleaners should do is put 40% off on your ads, because that works better than anything. And at the time, I had long hair and a ponytail, early 20s, and I raised my hand and I said something along these lines. I said, well, I've put together a 24-hour free recorded message which people call up, and it answers all the questions on mistakes to avoid when choosing a carpet cleaner, questions to ask a carpet cleaner before you let them in your house, how to avoid getting ripped off by a carpet cleaner, the difference between value and price. And by the time people listen to my free recorded message, they're no longer asking me how much do you charge to clean carpets, they're wanting to book the job, and then I never have to worry about price shoppers, because the free recorded message sifts, sorts, and screens all the price shoppers. And the guy looked at me, he's like, well, if that works for you, young man, that's great, but you know, we know 40% off works. So he kind of like dissed me, and I'm like, all right, whatever. And so during one of the breaks, 2 carpet cleaners come up to me, and they're like, what was that free recorded message thing you were talking about? And so I explained it to him. I told him I hired a copywriter. I paid this copywriter $1,800 to write a consumer's guide to carpet cleaning for me, so that whenever people would call me up and say, how much do you charge, I would have something that would educate them. So I sold both of these guys the script to a 24-hour free recorded message. And this guy, Don DeLue, then took that little ad. It said, warning, don't call any carpet cleaner until you listen to this 24-hour free recorded message. 3 most powerful words in offline advertising that I've ever used, which I recommend all of you use it, because if you plan on being in business for the next 2 or 3 years, this is easily worth like $100 grand to all of you if you sell any significant amount of anything. Free recorded message. Okay? So Don went from a half-page phone book ad in the Denver phone book. He's still in business there today. Healthy Homes Carpet Care is the name of his company. And I took him from a half-page phone book ad down to an ad smaller than the size of a business card, cut his advertising cost in half, and quadrupled the response he was getting out of the yellow pages. Dean Jackson has written some phenomenal stuff. And by the way, I have tools and strategies I'll talk about, but I will tell you, with Altitude, you know, I'm just telling you, Eben has every freaking thing I could ever possibly recommend to a business owner. I'm thoroughly impressed with this event. I mean, I've gone to a lot of events, and I mean, on literally the first afternoon of the first day, I got value out of this that far exceeded $10,000. I don't know how many of you feel that way, but I really think this is an incredible event. And also, this is an aside, but is Denise in the room? Denise was your 3rd person that started working with you. I never met her before. And you know, I usually kind of like goof around with people. And so I said to Denise, I said what she liked most about Eben. And I said, you know, like I was expecting her to like goof on him and stuff. And she said with as much sincerity, she said, you know, it's his eagerness to develop everyone that he touches. And that's coming from someone who's worked with him from the very beginning. And I thought, you know, God, as much as I like ragging on Eben, that is like a really good thing to leave people with, to be an encourager at such an extent. And I could almost say almost everyone that I've talked to that works with him has that level of respect, not because he's tricked them into it or whatever, but it's the majority of the smart people that I've actually met here too kind of have that feeling. So I just kind of wanted to say that, because you're a wonderful guy.
Thank you.
God, I hate saying that.
Thanks,
anyway, all right. So going back to something
that.
useful, because none of that had anything to do with helping these people make any money. So I taught Don DeLue how to use this 24-hour free recorded message, and what dawned on me was, wow, you know, here's one person that took something that I was using in a 6-month period, simply by changing the messages on my business cards. Started putting free recorded messages on business cards. Started changing flyers, sending out sales letters, and I started using education-based marketing. It worked for me in my small little carpet cleaning business, but now I got evidence that it was replicatable with other people. So at that event, I sold 2 people for $250 this technique that Don went out and used. Don did something with it. The other guy did nothing with it. Don, off a $250 a month ad, ended up doing $62,000 in revenue his first year. So the difference between a $1 bill and a $100 bill is the message on the paper. Always remember that. Those of you that are experienced marketers, you've probably heard that a million times. But it's the message on the paper. Same paper, same ink, different message. Change the message, it could change everything. The difference between being rich and being broke sometimes could be just one good sales letter that you leverage. Now, of course, you got to figure out what to do with the money. Making money and managing money are two differently entire things. But
who here who does pretty well in direct marketing had one marketing piece, one sales letter, something that was the thing that got you going and made the difference? Raise your hand. Look at that, one piece did it for all of those different people. That was the catalyst. You get that one thing right, and it puts you on the path.
Right. No, it's true, because I mean, I spent a lot of time with Gary Halbert, who's the one that originally I learned marketing from and taught me marketing. And I realized this by working with him, because he was very, very similar, is that when God was doling out brains, like 98% of my brains went on how to develop like a marketing campaign, and the other 2% on how to run the rest of my life. So I'm very heavily dysfunctional in every other area except the one that for some reason impresses people in very small environments. But then I just get away and don't let them be a fly on the wall and watch just how strange and bizarre I actually am. But anyway, I've had like one single sales letter that I've written for my company is brought in millions of dollars. I mean, just one sales letter that we've just had tweaks and changes to it over the years. But every one of you can get a control piece. I mean, if you just take a look at the very first sales letter you used for Double Your Dating and variations and embellishments of that, I mean, so all of you want to kind of look for that. And that is an educational sales letter, free report, website, whatever you call it. Well, here's one thing I'd really like everyone to kind of get and take away. Seriously, if you ever watched how I can't sit, I mean, if you sit in the back, I mean, I'm neurotic. And if it wasn't for direct response marketing, if I actually had to figure out how to sell anything by going out and knocking on doors or actually talking to people, I'd probably be in prison or something. I mean, it wouldn't make, it's ridiculous. But I've made millions of dollars because I've canned and cloned myself. Still be in prison, yes. So anyway, the technique. So Don DeLue, he used this free recorded message. I thought, wow, this is pretty cool. So how do I actually package all of this stuff up and offer to other carpet cleaners? Because my original goal was I'm going to build the largest carpet cleaning company in Phoenix, Arizona. And then I fell in love with marketing. I just loved it. I thought it was so fascinating and so interesting, because marketing is really applied psychology. And you hear how much of a deep thinker that Eben appears to be. Man, you've got that shtick down so well. You've got all these people bedazzled that you're like smart. It's funny as hell. But I mean, you really have to understand the mindset of a human being. I mean, Robert Collier, the Robert Collier letter book had a great line that as a marketer, as a copywriter, you want to enter a conversation that's already existing in your prospect's mind. And so that's really what we do as marketers, is just get inside their heads. And then once we know how to communicate the whatever in a way that they desire it and that they want it and that they will take action on it, then can you replicate that? So I didn't know how to package up or even how to charge for it, and that's how I came across people like Dan Kennedy, who I had write my copy for me for many years. I used to have Dan speak at all of my boot camps for many years. Just how do you package this stuff up? And so I started selling it. In the first year, I wrote a sales letter first to see if anyone would respond to it. And I sold $250,000 worth of manuals the first year. And then the second year, $500,000, the third year, $1 million. And so every year, I mean, we sell over $1 million worth of courses to carpet cleaners that I never even have a conversation with. It's completely robotic. And it's because of free recorded messages and canning and clone yourself. So in 1996, a real estate guy came to me that was selling $200,000 a month worth of marketing programs that had a price point between $497 to $697. And it was a good course. I read the whole thing. It was a very good course. And he was getting a 25% refund rate on a good course. And this was an individual that was also using 24-hour free recorded messages to sell real estate. And so I said to him, real simple thing, you're already doing it. Have you ever tried using free recorded messages after you've made a sale? Dean Jackson has this model, I think Dean came up with before, during, after, where you look at the 3 different stages of a business. And write this down. It's actually very much worth thinking about whenever you do anything. What do you do before the sale? What do you do during this? What do you do before the sale to get someone to buy? What do you do during the sale to increase the average sale? Very J. Abrahamish. J. Abrahamish. I like that.
Why don't you just call him Hamish J?
Yeah, we should. I like the words he uses, like engineered reciprocity and all these. Jay makes up words they sound pretty cool.
Awesome.
And then after the sale, before, during, after. What are all the things that you can do before, during, and after the sale? Those are the different stages. And so I said to this individual, I said, you're selling all these marketing programs. They're very good. But, when you write a hypey ad or a hypey sales letter and someone responds to it, there's a lot of enthusiasm. There's a lot of emotional engagement. By the time they put the sales letter down or they click off the website. Now, granted, what I'm talking about was before anyone was selling anything online. Maybe a couple of people. But for the most part, internet was not a method of selling. So free recorded messages and stuff. And so I said, why don't you get a sticker and put it on the outside of the package? And it'll be a welcome greeting. And it basically said, I'm trying not to use the person's name, but anyway. It says, congratulations, this is so-and-so, and you now hold in your hands the most powerful training course that's ever been created for real estate agents. I want to thank you so much for investing in this program. What I'd like you to do is read the quick startup guide, listen to the fast startup tape, because there were audio cassette tapes at the time. Remember those? And then VHS tapes? Do you guys remember those?
I don't think anybody does.
So the person that would get this individual's course would get a course, has a sticker, they'd call, they'd hear this message, congratulations, you now hold in your hand this most powerful marketing course ever created for real estate agents. Listen to this tape, read this fast startup guide, watch this video, and then you're going to start experiencing results like, and then it would play real live testimonials of people that were using the system. So this was just a sticker, cost nothing, a few pennies, to put this sticker on the outside of the shrink wrap of this course that this individual was selling $200,000 a month of and getting a $50,000 a month worth of refunds for an actually good course. This was not crap in the box. And those of you that are in marketing know there's a lot of people that sell a lot of crap in a box. And so, how many of you sell crap in a box? Show of hands. So what do you think happened when this person added that little stick strategy, is what we call it, to their packaging? And people would actually call and hear a real voice of the person behind the sales letter after they invested in this and sent money to a person they never met before, but they read a sales letter. Lower refunds by how much? 30%. It cut them in half. Okay, so a sticker with a 24-hour free recorded message saved him $25,000 a month in refunds. But it wasn't, now how much is that in a year? $300,000. So it's not just $300,000 that's just been put back into the business because it didn't seep out, but it was also the back end, because the second sale is always more profitable than the first sale. The most expensive cost you're going to have as it relates to marketing is going to be acquiring the actual client. So once you've acquired them, what are the things that you can do in order to make the sale stick? Well, the first thing is to get out of the transaction mindset. And one of the biggest dangers that I have come across in learning the world of marketing is some of the best people that will teach you the stuff are also some of the worst at actually following their own advice. Because people that respond to how to get rich quick and, they're always looking for the quote-unquote secret to success, these are very episodic sort of individuals in a lot of cases, and they're looking for the big deal. And, the next big deal, how they're going to hit it big. And the reason I say that is because I am one of those people. That's how I am. I get very bored with something, and I want to go to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And if you just look at human behavior, what's one of the number one self-help books on the planet right now? The Secret. Now, granted, that's good because it causes a lot of people that typically would not be introduced to self-improvement to start their journey. Now, I've heard every pro and con thing about The Secret, and people, always, anytime anyone's successful or whatever, people have, some sort of thing opinion about it. But the point of the matter is that there's a bazillion specific step-by-step how-to things that exist in the world, but what do they want? They still don't want the plan, they want the secret. That's human nature. People are always going to respond to things like that. So a lot of people that talk about lifetime value don't always follow it. And so I had to really look at what I was doing, because I would ignore people after I would make a sale to them. And when I say ignore, I don't think I've ever treated clients badly or neglected them. I mean, I really have prided myself on wanting to develop a phenomenal client experience, which is, important. I mean, you want to maintain a very good reputation. It's just bonding with these people. And so that free recorded message sticker concept just transformed the level of refunds. And so now, fast forward to today, I mean, I've built coaching programs, all kinds of stuff that I do with my carpet cleaners, which originally started with a sale of one course. But what, people, when I do these boot camps, this year I'm doing a thing called a super conference. I've changed the name. It's just a different way to package an event. And I don't know how you'd refer to that. So it's kind of not like it's a different sort of event, but nonetheless.
Some kind of shady way of changing the name, but keeping it the same.
Boot camp, super conference. But I've usually opened up these seminars, and I'll say things like, and I'll say this here: I don't think anyone wanted to come to this. I don't think anyone wants to read a book. I don't think anyone wants to go to coaching programs. I don't think people want any of that stuff. What I believe they want is they want a result. And in order to get a result, you need a capability. And the best way that I know how to deliver capabilities to my clients is in the form of educational materials and seminars and things like that. So when somebody shows some sort of interest and they invest money in that learning, in that capability, what they continually want more of is more of those capabilities. And the better you can bond with them in the process, the better off that you are in terms of developing and nurturing a relationship robotically. Of course, if you have thousands of clients, you cannot have individual conversations with all of them in the time to have the impact with them is right after they've bought. The highest level of skepticism, buyer's remorse, fear, second guessing their purchase is going to be right as it's happening or right after it's happened. So whatever you can do to re-engage the person, the better. So I just want to show some examples of how I've done that. I mean, you've done this with what products?
Yeah, we tested this a few years ago, a couple years ago.
Well, let's talk about how much it's been worth to you, if it's been worth anything.
In our test, I haven't done the math, but in our test, it cut our refunds in half. So we rolled it out across all of our products. And I think it's brilliant because I realized, right, someone buys the program, and then there's a delay of several days before they actually get it in their hands. And between that time period, the emotion that they had has now worn off. And then they come home and they're like, oh, there's that thing that I ordered. And then they start thinking, I don't know if this is what I want. Probably most of them, not excited anymore. A bunch of them don't even open it up. And I should just send this thing back. I didn't really mean to do that. And a big aha that I had was that a person needs to get back into that emotional state that they were in when they have the thing in their hands again. If there's a delay, they need to stay excited about it. So I just made an outline based on a conversation that I had with you, where I thought, what do I really want the person who's invested in this thing to do? And I realized I want them to use it. I want them to get into the thing, because I know if they get into it, then they're going to use it and they're going to get a lot of value out of it, and then they'll be a lot less likely to send it back too.
Yeah, the quicker that they consume, the better off you are. So as soon as you can start having your client experience something valuable as quickly as humanly possible, then you definitely increase the chances that, for one, they're going to be happy with it. And secondly, it gives you an opportunity to become chummy with them over using something robotic like a free recorded message. Now, how many of you actually ended up at this event here without any prior relationship or knowledge of who this guy was? Show of hands. Okay. How many of you kind of sort of maybe knew who he was a little bit, but not really? How many of you had an existing relationship with him? How many of you never raised your hand at any seminars? Okay. It's kind of hard to gauge because most people didn't raise their hand, but there was a good percentage. Now, if you think about what happened after you actually opted in a lot of ways, Eben, his entire organization has many stick strategies in place that you may not have looked at in that way. But the experience, as soon as you signed up, even for just one of his newsletters, a free newsletter, kind of started, right? It kind of starts. Well, you want to take the same sort of thing and just increase the intensity of how you actually do it. Like Bill Phillips was just a master at bonding with people. How many of you ever read Body for Life? Okay. And how many of you ever joined one of his physique transformation contests? Okay. Well, literally, he created a whole new category in the world of fitness and bodybuilding. And at one point in time, Bill was spending about $30,000 a month just on free recorded messages with particular individuals that people would resonate with. If they resonated with Meredith, who had a miscarriage and had a bad marriage and was depressed, but all of a sudden she joined Bill's physique transformation contest, started consuming this supplement, started working out, and all of a sudden her life became much better and she was able to deal with the adversities. There were tens of thousands of women that resonated with her, and when they heard a free recorded message from Meredith explaining it, it took it to a different level than just reading an article about this person. Does that make sense? Okay, so Nightingale Conant. How many of you listen to any Nightingale Conant programs? All right, how many of you heard this one, the fabulous Piranha Marketing Nightingale Conant program? All right, this is their #1 selling marketing program, and it should be because it's the best.
What I love is Piranha Marketing, eat your competition alive.
I wanted them to tear the ass out of your competition, but they didn't really, it was too jerky, boyish sort of thing for them, so I'm kidding. No.
Perfect.
Yeah, I wanted to really make this be a compassionate sort of presentation here for the audience. No, but Vic Conant, who's a friend of mine, they offer everything on 30-day free trials. So they basically make it easy for people to send stuff back. And they sell millions of dollars worth of educational materials. They're the largest audio learning company in the world. And he was telling me about the refunds. And I said, well, I know a way that you can dramatically reduce refunds, and I'll create a whole stick program for you. But I'll charge you $50,000 to do it, but I guarantee you it'll reduce a tremendous amount of refunds. Or we can create a marketing program for me built around all the stuff that I teach to carpet cleaners and consulting clients, but I've never written a book because I don't write books. I write expensive books, and I sell them to niches because there's ways to monetize that. That's the world I know. And so I said, we can do a program with me. You can't sell it for anything less than $300 to $500. I don't want to be in an $80 tape program category. And then we'll test these strategies on my own program, and if it works, you can use it on all of your other authors' programs. So $50,000 to have me create a stick program for you, or we do one here. And so I have probably the best royalty arrangement with Nightingale Conant based on creating this program. But we, with the sticker on the program versus without, the sticker says, warning, don't open this package yet. Before you even open this package, first call to hear a free recorded message from co-author Joe Polish at 1-800, I'll give you the number if you want to listen to it, 1-800-689-2211. And by the way, how many of you think I'm going to try to sell you something here? Some of them do. Where's John Childers in the room, man? That guy taught me a lot. If you want to learn how to sell from the platform, man, that dude. Okay, 1-800-689-2211. I'm not going to sell anybody anything here. I'm not going to, I could. Believe me, I could. I've been doing persuasion. And if you want me to, I can even show you firsthand. I can extract thousands of dollars from this audience with my eyes closed. Okay. It says, Joe has an important message for you.
You couldn't sell free candy to children.
Yeah, that was a positioning statement. I was bluffing. I can't sell.
Oh, right.
Christ, I have to write sales letters to sell anything. You think if I had to rely on my own personality, I'd be able to sell anything? Of course not. All right, Joe has an important message for you to hear before you open this package. Once you've called to hear Joe's message, go ahead and open this Piranha Marketing program and get ready for your life to change. Now, something happens in that experience because they read a hypey sales letter. They listened to some of my audios on their website because they have samples of me talking about ELF marketing. This whole program is around a theme called ELF marketing, which stands for easy, lucrative, and fun. And I say if you're going to use any marketing strategies, use ELF strategies versus half strategies. A half business is hard, annoying, lame, and frustrating. An ELF business is easy, lucrative, and fun. So the criteria I use is I don't try to use anything unless it's ELF. And I think it's a criteria that all of you should look at. You think to yourself, is this really ELF? Because if something is not ELF or cannot be made ELF, I don't want to use it because there's a lot of really ELF ways that you can sell your services. So when someone hears my voice when they got this package, it re-engages that emotional connection they had when they first read the sales letter. And you've got to, and what I told Vic Conant when I first explained this to him, I said, think about it. When someone reads a sales letter, they're in that state. And then, a few days go by. As soon as they hang up that phone or they click the order online, submit button and they purchase in the shopping cart, all of a sudden they go back to their world and they forget that they ordered this. And then when the box arrives, if they're in a bad mood or life is taken over, which it does, how excited are they about getting into this? So I wanted, void of Jack in the Box, jumping out of the box and running their lives for them, what can you do that's going to re-engage them? So the free recorded message works really well. With a sticker versus without, it lowers refunds by 5%. Which is pretty dramatic. And so whatever it is you sell, do that. Now, to take it another step further, I'm going to talk, where's Dean at? Dean Graziosi. How many of you ever seen this guy on television, Motor Millions and Think a Little Different? All right, Dean Graziosi's in the back. Here's his newest book. His first book was called Totally Fulfilled. And I went up to New York with Dean. We went to a boardroom dinner put on by Marty Edelston. He's the founder of Boardroom Inc. They publish Bottom Line Personal. And so we went to one of these boardroom dinners, and Dean went up there with me to this thing. And he showed, this guy, he's actually one of these real estate gurus that actually does do exactly what he teaches people. I went to this small town where he grew up. He owns like $6 million worth of real estate in this little town called Marlboro, New York. He was smoking the whole time too, which is terrible, but I'm kidding. Dean doesn't smoke. But anyway, so you're thinking, what are you talking about, right? And
typically.
His first book, Totally Fulfilled, was a bestseller. And I met with his publisher while I was up there and talking about his second book, which is not retail yet. It's called Be a Real Estate Millionaire, Secret Strategies for Lifetime Wealth Today. And Dean joined my $25,000 a person coaching program for info marketers. I'm the first person that's been able to extract money out of this guy because he's not, I think Dean's read like less than 5 books in his entire life and doesn't go to seminars. But I met him through a friend and I talked him into joining my program for $25,000, which he paid. And I'm happy about that. And anyway, during the meeting, we talked about using stick strategies on products. If you sell actual products like carpet cleaners, I have them put free recorded messages on a bottle of spotter. And so if you're not an information marketer, is there anything you drop off to your clients? Do you sell jewelry? I mean, all of you can use the technique. If I'm confusing anyone, just during break, ask me. I hope everything I'm saying you're all able to utilize. And so, Dean heard about this and he's like, well, I wonder if I could put this in. His book was ready to go to press for the first printing for the infomercial because he's running an infomercial on this book right now, and it sickens me because this guy has 5 employees and is doing over $1 million a week in sales right now. It just is agonizing. But nonetheless, I think last week you did 1,200,000 or something. Can you come up to the mic? Is that okay? Yes,
absolutely.
It is. All right.
No, Dean is a brilliant guy.
No, Dean is a brilliant guy.
Several times, and
now he actually called the publisher and said, "Stop the presses. I want to put a sticker on the back of the book." So he actually this is the first mainstream book, which will be a massive bestseller. It already is, and it's not even been released retail. And he put, warning, reading this amazing book will change your life. Call now to hear an important free recorded message from best-selling author Dean Graziosi at 1-800-348-0562 and find out why. Now, people can be sitting in Borders or Barnes & Nobles or wherever. They pick up the book. They can call and have him talk them into buying the book. He can lead generate and get their email and sell them into one of his, like, scandalous little coaching programs or whatever he does. No, I'm kidding. And, no, actually, all kidding aside, you know, I never thought when I saw Dean's infomercial that I would ever be hanging out with this guy. But we work out together, we do yoga. I mean, he's an amazing dude, and he's the real deal. And he's buddies with Joel Osteen. He gives Joel Osteen advice. I mean, the guy's very connected, and he's not one of these guys you ever see at seminars. He doesn't ever speak. He's a guy that's just figured out, he's sold over $100 million worth of stuff on TV. This guy knows more about infomercials than any other person that I've ever known. And so just if you could maybe talk about anything related to what I've said.
Yeah, no, real quick, you know, the reason I joined your event, Joe, and kind of, it was something I was searching out because the infomercial world for me, I've been on TV since 98, 99, and it just got harder and harder. I had to produce much better shows to just stay status quo. I couldn't get over the hump. And what I realized is, even though in our world you become incredibly savvy to cross-sells and upsells, you have to. It's the only way you survive on TV, just like similar to internet marketing, except on TV in a bigger model. But what I wanted to do is I realized I couldn't acquire more customers, so I was great at upselling, and I thought I was doing a good job at creating a relationship with my clients, but I wasn't. So of course, why not search out somebody who found out how to make millions off a tiny little niche of carpet cleaners when I have thousands of credit card buyers on a weekly basis coming in. So that's why the main reason I joined Joe's 25K group was to figure out how to really bond with my clients and build a relationship. So, you know, listening to Evan today and Scott yesterday talking about it, it really, what I want, if I could share some wisdom that hopefully benefits everybody, is it's a 1-2 punch. Everybody talks about cross-sells and upsells. I think I know how to do cross-sells and upsells as good, if not better than anybody. But what I was missing is the bonding relationships to take it to the next level. So what I learned from Joe, and I buried myself for a couple of months and created this incredible bonding sequence and building reciprocity. And I gave, you know, when people would buy, one of the things was the sticker on the book. That started the process. But after I'd sell a book on TV, the next morning they get an outbound call from me, and they you know, a voice broadcast that welcomes them aboard, and starts this whole bonding relationship. And literally from that sticker, and I'm kind of fast forwarding here, but from what I learned from Joe and really going deep with building this relationship, and it was worth every bit of time, from that sticker compared to the whole bonding sequence, our back-end sales revenue went up about 14%. And last month that was $380,000 in additional sales, just from this bonding relationship. So I knew I have a killer product. I know how to sell it. I just was missing the part of really having a dialogue and knowing who my clients are. And you know, Evan, you and I talked a little bit after you came down and presented at Joe's event. But I realized, looking back, the most successful pieces of what I've done is when I never forget what it was like, because I'm not a marketer who found real estate. I was a broke kid who got involved in real estate and then wanted to share it. And that's how I ended up being a marketer. But what I realized is when I was the most successful, Evan, was when I remembered what it was like to be broke, living off credit cards, trying to buy my first piece of property using a cash withdrawal off my gold Citibank Visa that I was hoping not to blow up, you know? And when I remember that is when it goes deep. And you came at the perfect time in my life, and I truly believe people come into your life at the right time. Because I was in the middle of writing my whole dialogue bonding sequence at this 30-day period when you presented it, and just reinforced everything I thought. Literally, I went back and scrapped half the emails that I was writing and went even deeper in a dialogue and a communication, and I remembered what it felt like and put myself back there. And I go back to New York where I do most of my investing, and when I go back, I go back and look at the tiny little apartment house I lived in when I was broke and living off credit cards and trying to make a first real estate deal happen with no money down. And so, you know, I can't reinforce everything that I've heard in the last couple of days more than just the cross-sells and the upsells, is the bonding needs to go with it. And those two together, you know, builds such a sphere. Like I said, we did an extra $380,000, and that's only an additional revenue, because you were talking about lowering refunds, Joe.
Right.
Refunds went down significantly when I plugged this in, but that's not even part of the $380,000. That was just an additional sales, because they said, wow, if this guy's giving me everything in front of the red curtain, you know, Evan calls it moving the free line. If he's giving me all this stuff for free, I can only imagine what, you know, the paid products are. So I hope that.
No, awesome. Thank you. And by the way, thank you, Dean. And This will actually change the way books are sold, because now there's a response mechanism on the outside of a book. There's an involvement device, and I mean, there's prior to this, I mean, other involvement devices where, you know, the book Now Discover Your Strengths has a little code where you go to their website to do the strength finder test, and they collect all the data, although they've never pitched me on anything, which doesn't make any sense. And you know, there's people that put websites and stuff in their books, but this is literally, everyone has access to a telephone. So I'm still, as much as people gravitate towards online marketing, to use these things in conjunction with your online marketing just enhances it. It makes it that much better. And so things like this are incredible. And how many of you can see how you could use and apply this in your own business? Okay,
by the way, if your refund rate is 20% and you cut it in half, and let's say you're making 10% profit right now, you just doubled your profit. That money goes right to the bottom line. Can I have these?
Yes, you can.
I want to give these away as the second prize for our little contest tomorrow. What do you think?
Hey, by all means. I mean, you took it from me. What am I going to say?
They're mine.
Like, am I going to say no? Am I going to be like, no, Evan, I really, want that program. I'd like to sell that to someone because I got bills to pay here, and you're just taking it from me like that. But, and I asked,
not in a personal way, but could you stop talking soon?
Mm-hmm. Aren't we supposed to do ad critiques or something?
Well, we were gonna, but we went way over here, and so I think we might have to do those at a slightly different time. Thank you, Joe, for coming up and sharing.
No, hold on. I got another thing.
You got one more thing?
Yeah.
Okay, just a couple minutes.
All right. This is a flip video, okay? You can get these at theflip.com. You can use regular cameras, but you can get these at Target. You can get them at most stores. Tiny little buttons on the back, okay? You just turn it on. Okay, and you just push this red button. Evan, this is Joe Polish here. We're at altitude, and this is your whole audience right here. And I'd like you to actually put this out on your blog or whatever. What would you like to say to everyone that's not here at this event?
I just want to let you know that the program is surpassing even my expectations. Joe just flipped this camera on and surprised me. What do you guys think of the event so far? Now,
yes, hi, this is Joe Polish. I just wanted a reason to get myself on Evan's blog, so that's why I'm looking at this camera right now, but go ahead.
No, and this is totally impromptu. He just pulled that thing out of his pocket 5-10 seconds before I saw it. And who here has learned at least 10 ideas that they believe will make more than $10,000 in the next year in sales? Unscripted, so there you go.
There you go. So whatever he tells you to do next, I'd encourage that. Have a good day. Now, just so you'll know what the heck am I doing, so I'm sitting there chatting with Dean Graziosi about this, and it was before one of my meetings, and he's like, my God, that's a great idea. I said, I'm gonna teach my carpet cleaners how to carry one of these on all their vans, and as soon as they're done cleaning Mrs. Jones' carpets, you actually capture a testimonial from Mrs. Jones, because as a marketer, one of the things that you wanna do is manufacture your own credibility. So he said, I'm gonna send this to my top students and ask them to actually videotape the value they've gotten out of my program. Literally, the next day, he had purchased like 30 of these, sent them to 30 of his students, FedEx with a return envelope saying, videotape the experiences you've had with me and send the video camera back. We'll take the video off and then we'll send the camera back to you. All you do is click this button, pops out a little USB thing, stick it into your computer. You don't even need software. The software is self-contained on here. It instantly plays it on the computer. Now, yes, you can do this with cameras. You can do all kinds of stuff, but this is brain dead simple. It has a power button, it has a record, it has a play, and it has a delete. Anyone could figure this out. It takes 30 minutes to an hour of video footage. You instantly have it available. So when we do my events now, we actually record testimonials, and boom, they're self-contained there. So everyone, wherever you're at and you're experiencing happy clients, or if you sell by mail or over the internet, just simply send this to your top clients and say, record a video of yourself, send it back to me, and as my gift of saying thanks, you can keep the camera. I just did it with 100 of my Platinum Plus members, which is a $15,000 a year program, and that's a very simple strategy for less than $100 at all of you can capture all the darn videos you want.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's good. Thanks a lot. Cool.